Yes, well, I think that's enough of that. Now on to another rather dubious character. Tommy Davis is the head of the Scientology Celebrity Center in Los Angeles, California. Little Tommy became infamous overnight after his appearance in a BBC TV Panorama documentary titled Scientology and Me. More of that in a moment. Most recently, Tommy made an appearance on CNN to talk about the anonymous movement and their alleged attacks against Scientology. Tommy is your run-of-the-mill, lying Scientology mouthpiece. Here's a few short clips from the CNN interview.
In our case, we're dealing with things like, 96 death threats, bomb threats, acts of vandalism, these kinds of things that are very destructive and very harmful. These are the kind of people who, put together imagery intended to cause epileptic seizures and then hacking into the Epilepsy Foundation's website and throwing it up there, trying to cause people to have epileptic seizures. And they do these kinds of things for laughs. The worldwide interest in Scientology has never been higher.
If you remember the Church of Scientology and someone in your family or a friend or your spouse is skeptical or critical of the Church of Scientology, you are supposed to disconnect yourself from that person. And Jenna Miscavige Hill, who is a niece of the church's leader, David Miscavige, says that happened to her, which is the reason she left the church a couple of years ago, and she now has a website bringing together former members of the Church of Scientology to talk about issues like this.
There's no such thing as disconnection as you're characterizing it.
What is the basic belief of the Church of Scientology?
Well, that could fill the Encyclopedia Britannica in terms of what Scientology is about and what it does.
As you know, there are some people, and one of them is a correspondent for the Village Voice, who says the basic belief system or the basic tenet of the Church of Scientology is to rid the body of space alien parasites, to clear oneself.
Well, John, does that sound silly to you?
Tommy's most infamous appearance, however, was in the BBC TV documentary Scientology and Me, where he spied and lied on reporter John Sweeney, eventually making Sweeney blow his top in one famous scene. Let's take a look at Tommy giving such a good representation of an official from a so-called religious organization.
Are you sure you're getting good sound? Shall I hold that? From my perspective, you and the Church of Scientology have been spying on the BBC. You have been spying on our hotel. We didn't tell you where we were staying, so you've been spying on us. And I find that, if I may say so, a little bit creepy. Here's your microphone.
Thanks.
For you to repeatedly refer to my faith in those terms is so derogatory, so offensive, and so bigoted, and the reason you keep repeating it is because you wanted to get a reaction like you're getting right now. Well, buddy, you got it. Right here, right now. I'm angry. Real angry.
Every time we talk to a critic of Scientology, you within hours come up and say, that's an extortionist, that's a sexual pervert. It's as if you are terrified of anyone criticising your organisation. If people say to me that they think what you claim to be a religion is in fact a cult, I have a right to report that. I've got a right to report that, Tommy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Tommy Davis is quite the character. Tommy is good at dishing out the standard Scientology BS, but when it comes to hard questions he just runs away like a sniveling weasel. One of the more shameful aspects of Scientology is called disconnection. The cult forces its members to disconnect from anyone it may consider an enemy or potential enemy of the church, and that includes friends or family members of church members. Many lives have been ripped apart by this shameful practice. Husbands and wives have been disconnected as well as friends and other family members. The church allows absolutely no contact between the church and the disconnected, no matter how close the bond. Of course, Scientologists deny that this happens today, but it does, and there are many examples to be found, not least a testimony from Jenna Miscavige Hill, who is the niece of the cult leader David Miscavige. Jenna says that the policy of strict disconnection is definitely still being practiced to this day. Last but not least, we come to Scientology's practice called fair game, used on people who oppose or speak out against Scientology. This includes ex-Scientology members as well as anyone who speaks out against the church. These people are usually labeled SPs, or suppressive persons. For an explanation of fair game, we can quote directly from L. Ron Hubbard himself. He said of SPs, "may be deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline of the Scientologist. SPs may be tricked, sued, or lied to, or destroyed." Although the fair game policy was supposedly cancelled in 1968, it still goes on today, but of course the church denies it. In fact, the policy supposedly cancelling fair game does not actually state that exactly. It states the words "fair game may not appear on any ethics order." The fact they changed this policy, not because it was bad, but because it gave them bad publicity, speaks volumes about how evil this cult is. There are countless examples of results of the fair game policy. Ultimately, fair gaming can and has ended in death. Probably two of the most notable deaths related to Scientology are Lisa McPherson and most recently in 2008, Sean Lonsdale, who was allegedly driven to suicide by fair game type techniques. That is Scientology in a nutshell. By any definition of the word, it is a cult, and a dangerous, deadly one at that. However, it's not all bad news. Recently there has been a new anti-Scientology movement called Anonymous. Anonymous, along with the internet, is currently the biggest threat to Scientology today. This is quite evident in the amount of time and effort the Church of Scientology has put into spreading lies and black PR about it, even going to the extent of creating fake anonymous videos and reports of death and bomb threats. Is this how a normal religious organization would react to its detractors? Would a legitimate religion threaten, abuse, and invent fake evidence? Would a legitimate religious organization steal, cover up deaths, lie to millions, and most of all charge many thousands of pounds just to sell its phony, alien-ridden courses? Despite what the COS want people to believe, Anonymous is not a terrorist group. The goal of Anonymous is to reveal the truth behind the many abuses of the Church of Scientology, and we mean to do this in a peaceful way by protesting and making freely available information about the Church's abuses. The COS meanwhile continues its practice of censoring, threatening, and lying to the public, as well as pitiful attempts to spread disinformation about Anonymous. Ladies and gentlemen, Scientology is a scam. Scientology destroys. Scientology kills. Peace to you all, and to those of you watching who may be Scientologists, or who may be considering becoming Scientologists. Please do some independent research before you end up wasting a good deal of your life and a big chunk of your bank account.
Nothing must be revealed. It doesn't matter what